will wait for you. Oh, you is strength, but God is my defense. My God of mercy shall come to meet me.
Felt like chewing a little gum. I had a little bit of ice cream earlier, so I want to kind of cleanse my palate. I'll get comfy.
From my enemies, oh my God, defend me from those who rise up against me. Deliver me from the workers of iniquity, and save me from bloodthirsty men. I will wait for you. Oh, you is strength, but God is my defense. My God of mercy shall come to meet me. I will wait for you. Oh, you is strength, but God is my defense. My God of mercy shall come to meet me. My God of mercy shall come to meet me. And I will sing of your power. Yes, I will sing the light of your mercy in the morning. You have been my defense and refuge in the day of my trouble. To you, oh my strength, I will sing praises. For God is my defense. For God is my defense. For God is my defense. My God of mercy. That I will sing of your power. Yes, I will sing the light of your mercy in the morning. Yeah. You have been my defense and refuge in the day of my trouble. To you, my strength, I will sing praises. For God is my defense. God is my defense. God is my defense. My God of mercy. I will wait for you. Oh, you is strength, for God is my defense. My God of mercy shall come to meet me. I will wait for you. Oh, you is strength, for God is my defense. My God of mercy shall come to meet me. My God of mercy, come to meet me.
Diddy's Baby Oil asked me what my favorite flavor of ice cream is. That's tough. I'm inclined to say pistachio. I love pistachio ice cream. I also like, there's a place near me that does this Indian style ice cream. It has like rose water and pistachio nuts in it. That's probably the best ice cream I can think of. I also like coffee flavored ice cream as well. So, into that kind of thing. But yeah, just wanted to play that little song to mellow out before I get started. What do you think of Donald next to me here? Is it kind of fun? I think it's a little fun. Diddy's Baby Oil says I'm beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. That's nice. Well, hello, everyone. I see that there are multiple viewers right now. So, feel free to get comfy, say hi. If you have any thoughts about what we're reading, respond in the chat. We'll be having a nice time tonight. I'm gonna put Donald away, honestly. Let's see how far we get. We're only in chapter 2. This is the third reading. Honestly, I probably could have continued. There were only a couple more pages, but when you're done, you're done. So let us begin reading again from Trump's The Art of the Deal. Deliver the goods. You can't con people, at least not for long. That's very true. You can create excitement. You can do wonderful promotion and get all kinds of press. And you can throw in a little hyperbole. But if you don't deliver the goods, people will eventually catch on. Hello, Yoda, and hello, Samuel. Good to see you both here as well. I think of Jimmy Carter. After he lost the election to Ronald Reagan, Carter came to see me in my office. He told me he was seeking contributions to the Jimmy Carter Library. I asked him how much he had in mind, and he said, Donald, I would be very appreciative if you contributed $5 million. I was dumbfounded. I didn't even answer him. But that experience also taught me something. Until then, I'd never understood how Jimmy Carter became president. The answer is that as poorly qualified as he was for the job, Jimmy Carter had the nerve, the guts, the balls to ask for something extraordinary. That ability, above all, helped him get elected as president. But then, of course, the American people caught on pretty quickly that Carter couldn't do the job, and he lost in a landslide when he ran for re-election. Carter's presidency was before my time. If anyone in chat remembers, give me your take. I don't know. Ronald Reagan is another example. He is so smooth and so effective a performer that he completely won over the American people. Only now, nearly 7 years later, are people beginning to question whether there's anything beneath that smile. I don't really think there was much to Ronald Reagan. Typical California Hollywood liberal. I see the same thing in my business, which is full of people who talk a good game but don't deliver. When Trump Tower became successful, a lot of developers got the idea of imitating our atrium, and they ordered their architects to come up with a design. Pardon me. The drawings would come back and they would start costing out the job. What they discovered is that the bronze escalators were going to cost $1 million extra, and the waterfall was going to cost $2 million, and the marble was going to cost many millions more. They saw that it all added up to many millions of dollars, and all of a sudden, these people with these great ambitions would decide, well, let's forget about the atrium. The dollar always talks in the end. I'm lucky because I work in a very, very special niche at the top of the market, and I can afford to spend top dollar to build the best. I promoted the hell out of Trump Tower, but I also had a great product to promote. I think Samuel left. He said, hang on, forgot something. Lol, good night. Good night. Stacy reminds us that it's 20 days till the election. 3 weeks. It's Tuesday. We're at the end of the race. This has been this has been one of the craziest presidential election cycles of my lifetime. But I don't know, I'm kind of burnt out by it. How about y'all? You just want it to be over. I mean, I usually feel that way, I think, but the threats on Trump's life have been pretty harrowing for me, and I'm exhausted by it, and I don't know. I just, I don't even have much energy for it. But I mean, I rarely do, so it is what it is. Matthew says, hi, Ms. Terri. Thank you. What you doing? Hi, Gregatron. You ready for Trump to get in there? God, yeah. Well, let's have a wait and see. But yeah, let's get back to this. Contain the costs. I believe in spending what you have to, but I also believe in not spending more than you should. When I was building low-income housing, the most important thing was to get it built quickly, inexpensively, and adequately, so you could rent it out and make a few bucks. That's when I learned to be cost conscious. I never threw money around. I learned from my father. Oh dear. That every penny counts, because before too long, your pennies turn into dollars. Ain't that the truth? To this day, if I feel a contractor is overcharging me, I'll pick up the phone, even if it's only for $5,000 or $10,000, and I'll complain. People say to me, what are you bothering for over a few bucks? My answer is that the day I can't pick up the telephone and make a 25-cent call to save $10,000 is the day I'm going to close up shop. The point is that you can dream great dreams, but they'll never amount to much if you can't turn them into reality at a reasonable cost. At the time I built Trump Plaza in Atlantic City, banks were reluctant to finance new construction at all, because almost every casino up to then had experienced tens of millions of dollars in cost overruns. We brought Trump Plaza in on budget and in on time. As a result, we were able to open for Memorial Day weekend, the start of the high season. By contrast, Bob Guccione of Penthouse has been trying for the past 7 years to build a casino on the boardwalk site right next to ours. All he has to show for his efforts is a rusting half-built frame and tens of millions of dollars in lost revenues and squandered carrying costs. Even small jobs can get out of control if you're not attentive. For nearly 7 years, I watched from the window of my office as the city tried to rebuild the Woolman Rink in Central Park. At the end of that time, millions of dollars had been wasted, and the job was farther from being completed than when the work began. Hello, Nicholas. Welcome to the chat as well. Oh, wonderful, Stacy. Yeah, it's bad enough that you have to share laundry facilities with your neighbors, but then to have to pay for it on top of it. Ugh. I found it very irritating, like when I dealt with that. I'm so glad that I have an in-unit washer and dryer system now. Like, I do not ever want to go back to the days of sharing. I was looking at apartments recently and I found this place and I was like, oh, it looks amazing. And then I saw it, shared laundry, and I was like, oh, I can't go back to that. I cannot go back. Okay. They were all set to rip out the concrete and start over when I finally couldn't stand it anymore, and I offered to do it myself. The job took 4 months to complete at a fraction of the city's cost. God, that's terrible. It is amazing to me the amount of like squandering of public resources that goes on with a lot of city, state, and even national projects. And it really shouldn't be that way. But yeah, it's amazing to me that he watched for years this project not getting done, and then they were going to rip it out and start again. And he's like, oh, let me do it. 4 months, it's done. Amazing. So, and the last section of this chapter, have fun. I don't kid myself. Life is very fragile, and success doesn't change that. If anything, success makes it more fragile. Anything can change without warning, and that's why I try not to take any of what's happened too seriously. Money was never a big motivation for me, except as a way to keep score. The real excitement is playing the game. I don't spend a lot of time worrying about what I should have done differently or what's going to happen next. If you ask me exactly what the deals I'm about to describe all add up to in the end, I'm not sure I have a very good answer, except that I've had a very good time making them. All right. That was chapter 2. All right. Chapter 3 is titled Growing Up. The most important influence on me growing up was my father, Fred Trump. I learned a lot from him. I learned about toughness in a very tough business. I learned about motivating people. And I learned about competence and efficiency. Get in, get it done right, and get out. At the same time, I learned very early on that I didn't want to be in the business my father was in. He did very well building rent-controlled and rent-stabilized housing in Queens and Brooklyn, but it was a very tough way to make a buck. I wanted to try something grander, more glamorous, and more exciting. I also realized that if I ever wanted to be known as more than Fred Trump's son, I was eventually going to have to go out and make my own mark. I'm fortunate that my father was content to stay with what he knew and did so well. That left me free to make my mark in Manhattan. Even so, I never forgot the lessons I learned at my father's side. Oh, we have some new people in chat. Hello to Fred, who says, Fred, that's nice. He says I look nice. Oh, and Golden Rule TV here is saying I look nice as well. Thank you. Really, guys? You think so? I suppose. I'm showing off that neck and my clavicles a little bit. One of my nicer features. What do y'all think? Yeah. Man, this chair, though, is pretty loud. It's getting on my nerves. But yeah, guys named Fred sure are smart. One of the smartest people I ever knew was named Fred. He passed away last year. Maybe it was the year before, actually. Yeah, it was. Rest in peace. Yeah, this chair has some things about it that I like. Like I like the arms, but there's some bits about it that are just rickety, and they've always been. I don't like the sound it makes, and then it doesn't roll very well either. And it's been like that since I purchased it. Yeah, Fred was really cool. He was a lawyer. I met him. He did some pretty landmark cases he worked on. He was an activist, and he was just an all-around pretty cool guy. Like his memorial service was lit. Like a lot of people were there, and they had a lot of interesting things to say about him. So, well, what can you do? Fred's a top tier name, yeah. And there's that song by Patti Smith I love. I love it. It's Frederick by Patti Smith about her husband. So beautiful. So can we get a chair that winds up when you pull it backwards? Oh, that's funny. Like one of those toys. Shout out to Zenny, who's joined the chat as well. Oh, there's going to be a new Bond fiction coming out. Okay, you guys, I need to get back into the book. But thank you for the compliments. Hi, Em. Good to see you. Charles Xavier's hover chair. I do need that. Maybe I could shave my head again. No, that's not going to happen. I love my hair too much. Okay. Let's see. His story is classic Horatio Alger. Fred Trump was born in New Jersey in 1905. His father, who came here from Sweden as a child, owned a moderately successful restaurant. But he was also a hard liver and a hard drinker, and he died when my father was 11 years old. My father's mother, Elizabeth, went to work as a seamstress to support her 3 children. The oldest, also named Elizabeth, was 16 at the time, and the youngest, John, was 9. My father was the middle child, but the first son, and he became the man of the house. Almost immediately, he began taking odd jobs, everything from deliveries for a local fruit store to shining shoes to hauling lumber on a construction site. Construction always interested him, and during high school, he began taking night classes in carpentry, plan reading, and estimating, figuring that if he learned a trade, he'd always be able to make a living. And that's true to this day. Learn a trade, people. Get you a trade, get you some skill that other people don't have. That's doing something that people will always need. By the age of 16, he'd built his first structure, a 2-car frame garage for a neighbor. Middle-class people were just beginning to buy cars. Few homes had attached garages, and my father was soon able to establish a very good new business, building prefabricated garages for $50 a piece. Did I know Kamala was born a middle-class child? You know what? An upper middle-class child, born to intellectuals who were connected to the Jamaican government. Wasn't her grandmother a member of the Jamaican parliament as well? Very middle class. I don't really care either. I'm not a classist person. I don't think that people who are born in the upper classes are somehow, bad people or people that I can't relate to at all. Like, I don't have a classist mindset that way. There's a whole lot of reverse classism where people look down on people who were born into, like, I don't know, generational wealth or poverty. And because of that, people like Kamala Harris, like, try to downplay their roots, which are very privileged. And it's very stupid. Like, I don't need to relate to you. Actually, I prefer not to. I'd like my politicians to maybe be a cut above the rest. Like, do we really need the, the plebs in office? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say that exactly. Obviously, plenty of working class and middle class people are brilliant, but I mean, they've not really been. A lot of them just don't ever get out of those mindsets. Yeah, Trump came from plebs. I mean, yeah, his family built themselves up. What's up with the cackle? I mean, no, I didn't see Trump take down Bloomberg. Maybe after we get through some reading, I'll pull it up if you all want to remind me that he was on Bloomberg. I heard he was going on Rogan too, Golden TV. That'll be interesting to watch. Or Golden Rule TV. Yeah. I do like a Joe Rogan interview from time to time. It can be very interesting, the people he has on. So Trump comes from a crime family. Well, most families have some criminals in them. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell me yours doesn't. All right, let me continue. He graduated from high school in 1922, and with a family to support, he couldn't even consider college. So his father never went to college. Interesting. Instead, he went to work as a carpenter's helper for a home builder in Queens. He was better with his hands than most, but he also had some other advantages. For starters, he was just a very smart guy. Even to this day, he can add 5 columns of numbers in his head and keep them all straight. Between his night courses and his basic common sense, he was able to show the other carpenters, most of whom had no education at all, shortcuts, such as how to frame a rafter with a steel square. In addition, my father was always very focused and very ambitious. Most of his coworkers were happy just to have a job. My father not only wanted to work, but he also wanted to do well and get ahead. Finally, my father just plain loved working. From as early as I can remember, my father would say to me, "The most important thing in life is to love what you're doing, because that's the only way you'll ever really be good at it." One year after he got out of high school, my father built his first home, a one-family house in Woodhaven, Queens. It cost a little less than $5,000 to build, and he sold it for $7,500. He called his company Elizabeth Trump and Son because at the time he wasn't of age. Wow, interesting. So the first house he ever built, he started building before he was even of age. And he had to put his mother's name on it. Interesting. And his mother had to sign all his legal documents and checks. As soon as he sold his first house, he used the profit to build another, and then another and another, in working class Queens communities like Woodhaven, Hollis, and Queens Village. For working people who'd spent their lives in small, crowded apartments, my father offered a whole new lifestyle, modestly priced suburban-style brick houses. Oh, I love those brick houses, man. They were gobbled up as fast as he could build them. Instinctively, my father began to think bigger. By 1929, aiming at a more affluent market, he started building much larger homes. Instead of tiny brick houses, he put up 3-story colonials, Tudors, and Victorians in a section of Queens that ultimately became known as Jamaica Estates, and where eventually he built a home for our family. When the Depression hit and the housing market fell off, my father turned his attention to other businesses. He bought a bankrupt mortgage servicing company and sold it at a profit a year later. Next, he built a self-service supermarket in Woodhaven, one of the first of its kind. All the local tradesmen, butcher, tailor, shoemaker, rented concessions in the space, and the convenience of having everything available under one roof made the operation an immediate success. Wow. Within a year, however, eager to return to building, my father sold out to King Cullen for a large profit. That sounds like a really cool business, especially for the time. I mean, there's interesting, we have kind of like, I think of like the food halls we have in Portland. There's a number of food halls where they have these small, little industrial kitchens that are set up where you can go in and they're good for like lunch or whatever, but it provides like a way for a business to rent out a small space and all go together, and like you and your party can get different things to eat. You know, you can network there, but it's not like, I don't know, it doesn't have the costs for an individual starting a business like a restaurant. It doesn't cost the same that it would to open up like a restaurant on its own. It's just kind of reminding me of that. Obviously, it's different with the different concessions that they offered then. It sounds like organized crime to you. Well, you have to have a front business for your money, okay? That's basic. All right? Everybody knows that. You have to have your little legitimate business that you can launder money through. I don't know what Mem is saying. JD Vance would give me that sweet beard. Haven't had a bearded executive in decades. What are you saying about JD Vance exactly? Oh, Stacy. Oh my. Come on, Stacy, don't depress us. Frederick, he wasn't an immigrant himself. Fred Trump wasn't an immigrant. He was a child of immigrants. He was an anchor baby. Ugh. Let me adjust here. Ooh, my leg is kicking off there. Okay. By 1934, the Depression was finally beginning to ease, but money was still tight, and so my father decided to go back to building lower-priced homes. This time, he chose the depressed Flatbush area of Brooklyn, where land was cheap, and he sensed there was a lot of room for growth. Once again, his instincts were right. In 3 weeks, he sold 78 homes, and during the next dozen years, he built 2,500 more throughout Queens and Brooklyn. He was becoming very successful. Who is MSLSD? LSD? Is that MSNBC? In 1936, my father married my wonderful mother, Mary McLeod, and they began a family. My father's success, 1936 was the year my grandmother was born. Interesting. Just remembered that. Rest in peace, Grandma Terri. She was a real one. Very, very cool lady. I miss her. She had a very cool laugh as well. And she was a smoker her whole life. So she had a really rich kind of smoker's laugh and gravel to her voice. And she was a sharp dresser, and she knew how to accessorize, and she was very honest and, nonsense kind of person. And I was lucky enough to inherit her name. I'm also named after my mother's mother, Anne, as well. My name's Terri Ann, after both of my grandmothers, which is sweet, isn't it? Well, let's continue. My father's success also made it possible for him to give his younger brother something he'd missed himself, a college education. That's nice. With my father's help, my uncle, John Trump, went to college, got his PhD from MIT, and eventually became a full professor of physics and one of the country's great scientists. Perhaps because my father never got a college degree himself, he continued to view people who had one with a respect that bordered on awe. In most cases, they didn't deserve it, and that's true to this day. My father could run circles around most academics, and he would have done very well in college if he'd been able to go. We had a very traditional family. My father was the power and the breadwinner, and my mother was the perfect housewife. That didn't mean she sat around playing bridge and talking on the phone. There were 5 children in all, and besides taking care of us, she cooked and cleaned and darned socks and did charity work at the local hospital. We lived in a large house, but we never thought of ourselves as rich kids. We were brought up to know the value of $1 and to appreciate the importance of hard work. Our family was always very close, and to this day, they are my closest friends. My parents had no pretensions. My father still works out of a small, modest back office on Avenue Z in the Sheep's Head Bay section of Brooklyn, in a building he put up in 1948. It simply never occurred to him to move. My sister Marianne was the firstborn, And when she graduated from Mount Holyoke, nice, college, she followed my mother's path at first, marrying and staying at home while her son grew up. But she also inherited a lot of my father's drive and ambition. And when her son David became a teenager, she went back to school to study law. She graduated with honors, began with a private firm, worked for 5 years as a federal prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office, and 4 years ago became a federal judge. Marianne is really something. My younger sister, Elizabeth, is kind and bright, but less ambitious, and she works at Chase Manhattan Bank in Manhattan. I love that kind of story too. Thank you, Zenny. He said, may you be blessed by your memory, or by their memory, Terry. I definitely am blessed by the memory of my grandmothers. Two very interesting women, and they each had 6 children each. Isn't that funny? I like the story, though, about Marianne, who, when she had a child, stayed with her child and raised him until he was of age, and then went back and got an education and had a career. I think women are not often given they're given the idea that if they raise kids, that they can't go and have a successful career later on. And it's not true. I mean, after my aunt had raised my cousins, she went back to school and became a professor and had a whole new career in life that she hadn't had before. Like, it's totally possible to, your life doesn't end until you die. So, like, women get this idea that, oh no, you don't need to delay kids if you want to have kids, is all I'm saying. You can have kids and you can go back to school later on. No reason to, forgo it if you, end up pregnant, or whatever. Like, I don't know. You can if you want. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it either way, but, it is easier on the body to have them young. So I wish, it's just nice to hear stories like that and, to know that, once your kids are grown, you can go back to school and get a whole new career, or you can enter the workforce again. You're not limited by having kids. You may miss out on some years of working if you choose to make that your priority, but honestly, your kids will be better off for it. Your family will be as well. It's better to do it right, Hello to Point Fire, who has joined the chat, and now to Chris, who has also joined the chat. Nice to see you. Golden Rule TV says that college is a waste of time and money. It's all about who you know. I think that's true to a large degree. I wouldn't say that it's completely a waste of time and money, depending on what kind of degree you get. And also, college is a way of networking, going to the right schools, being in the right programs, joining the right clubs. You can network in college. College is mainly there for networking. Actually, it's a great way to network. And then you keep up with your alumni. It's a great way to get plugged into things. So I don't think college is a waste completely. But I mean, if you're going just to get a degree because people say you should, you probably should think twice about that. So I don't know. I don't know, y'all. But I have to say, yeah, I mean, you can be successful without a college degree. Don't let anyone, make you think otherwise, because a lot of successful people don't have that. Anyway, let's continue. Okay, my older brother Freddie, the first son, had perhaps the hardest time in our family. My father is a wonderful man, but he is also very much a business guy and strong and tough as hell. My brother was just the opposite, handsome as could be. He loved parties and had a great warm personality and a real zest for life. He didn't have an enemy in the world. Naturally, my father very much wanted his oldest son in the business. But unfortunately, business just wasn't for Freddie. He went to work with my father reluctantly, and he never had a feel for real estate. He wasn't the kind of guy who could stand up to a killer contractor or negotiate with a rough supplier. Because my father was so strong, there were inevitably confrontations between the two of them. In most cases, Freddie came out on the short end. Eventually, it became clear to all of us that it wasn't working, and Freddie went off to pursue what he loved most, flying airplanes. He moved to Florida, became a professional pilot, and flew for TWA. He also loved fishing and boating. Freddie was probably happiest during that period in his life, and yet I can remember saying to him, even though I was 8 years younger, "Come on, Freddie, what are you doing? You're wasting your time." I regret now that I ever said that. Perhaps I was just too young to realize that it was irrelevant what my father or I thought about what Freddie was doing. What mattered was that he enjoyed it. Along the way, I think Freddie became discouraged, and he started to drink, and that led to a downward spiral. At the age of 43, he died. It's very sad, because he was a wonderful guy who never quite found himself. In many ways, he had it all, but the pressures of our particular family were not for him. I only wish I had realized this sooner. Fortunately for me, I was drawn to business very early, and I was never intimidated by my father the way most people were. I stood up to him, and he respected that. We had a relationship that was almost business-like. I sometimes wonder if we'd have gotten along so well if I hadn't been as business-oriented as I am. Even in elementary school, I was very assertive. I was a very assertive, aggressive kid. In the second grade, I actually gave my teacher a black eye. Whoa. Yes, I have heard this about him as well, that he doesn't drink because of his older brother being an alcoholic and dying early because of it. It is cool to have a father you can look up to. I don't know. My father wasn't perfect, but he had a lot of qualities that I still look up to this day. And I definitely am his daughter, you know? I don't know. Anybody else? Anybody else have a father that they can look up to? Or that they do look up to? I punched my music teacher because I didn't think he knew anything about music. And I almost got expelled. My goodness. I'm not proud of that, but it's clear evidence that even early on, I had a tendency to stand up and make my opinions known in a very forceful way. The difference now is that I like to use my brain instead of my fists and his mouth. I was always something of a leader in my neighborhood, much the way as it is today. People either liked me a lot or they didn't like me at all. In my own crowd, I was very well liked, and I tended to be the kid that others followed. As an adolescent, I was mostly interested in creating mischief because for some reason I liked to stir things up and I liked to test people. I'd throw water balloons, shoot spitballs, and make a ruckus in the schoolyard and at birthday parties. It wasn't malicious so much as it was aggressive. My brother Robert likes to tell the story of the time when it became clear to him where I was headed. Robert is 2 years younger than I am, and we have always been very close, although he is much quieter and more easygoing than I am. One day we were in the playroom of our house, building with blocks. I wanted to build a very tall building, but it turned out that I didn't have enough blocks. I asked Robert if I could borrow some of his, and he said, okay, but you have to give them back when you're done. I ended up using all of my blocks and then all of his, and when I was done, I'd created a beautiful building. I liked it so much that I glued the whole thing together, and that was the end of Robert's blocks. Hello, Argalunas in the chat. Nobody else has a dad that they could look up to in the chat. We got 16 people watching. Come on, guys. Shout out your dads. I can't be the only one here that had a dad you could look up to. Dang, Stacy. Stacy, Golden Rule TV, come on. Oh. Well, if it wasn't your father, I'd love to hear about another maybe male in your life who you look up to, you know. Chris shouts out his dad. Chris had a good dad that he looks up to. Frederick's dad is an all-star. I thought he might be. That's not a white supremacy sign. It's a salute. It's a... Oh, you like your dad. Whoa. I said look up to. I didn't know. You don't have to like him. My daddy? Michael. Michael's my daddy. All right, let's see. When I turned 13, my father decided to send me to a military school, assuming that a little military training might be good for me. I wasn't thrilled about the idea, but it turned out he was right. Beginning in the 8th grade, I went to the New York Military Academy in upstate New York. I stayed through senior year, and along the way I learned a lot about discipline and about channeling my aggression into achievement. In my senior year, I was appointed a captain of the cadets. Cool. There was one teacher in particular who had a big impact on me. Theodore Tobias was a former drill sergeant in the Marines, and physically he was very tough and very rough. The kind of guy who could slam into a goalpost wearing a football helmet and break the post rather than his head. He didn't take any back talk from anyone, least of all from kids who came from privileged backgrounds. If you stepped out of line, Tobias smacked you, and he smacked you hard. Very quickly, I realized that I wasn't going to make it with this guy by trying to take him on physically. A few less fortunate kids chose that route, and they ended up getting stomped. Most of my classmates took the opposite approach and became nebbishes. They never challenged Tobias about anything. I took the third route. M had a wonderful Catholic father who was sweet and gentle. Oh, that's nice. I don't look up to my dad anymore so much. I'm an adult. Argelina says Alaska. Yes. Yes, that is where I grew up. Gregatron says he loves his dad. Well, obviously you love your father, but do you look up to him? Or did you look up to him? M asks me what my comfort shows are. Mine are old episodes of Siskel and Ebert. Is yours Donahue? Not really. I've only gotten into watching Donahue recently, just, because he passed away. So I've been like revisiting him. My comfort shows, I would say it's probably my favorite shows, which are Peep Show and then like Peep Show, The Thick of It, and then Upstairs, Downstairs. Those are my classics, my comfort shows. They're like friends. I put them on and I go through all the, emotions with them. Interesting question though, comfort show. Oh yeah, I love Futurama. I don't know if it would be a comfort show though for me, but it's definitely an amazing show, Futurama. Okay. I took a third route, which was to use my head to get around the guy. I figured out what it would take to get Tobias on my side. In a way, I finessed him. It helped that I was a good athlete, since he was the baseball coach and I was captain of the team, but I also learned how to play him. What I did, basically, was to convey that I respected his authority, but that he didn't intimidate me. It was a delicate balance. Like so many strong guys, Tobias had a tendency to go for the jugular if he smelled weakness. On the other hand, if he sensed strength, but you didn't try to undermine him, he treated you like a man. From the time I figured that out, and it was more an instinct than a conscious thought, we got along great. That's a pretty good approach to most people who are in a position of authority to you, Be strong, but don't try to undermine them, never outshine the master, right? Dexter's your comfort show, and you're saying other people's comfort shows are weird. What? I was a good enough student at the academy, although I can't say that I ever worked very hard. I was lucky that it came relatively easily to me because I was never all that interested in schoolwork. I understood early on that the whole academic thing was only a preliminary to the main event, which was going to be whatever I did after I graduated from college. Almost from the time I could walk, I'd been going to construction sites with my father. Robert and I would tag along and spend our time hunting for empty soda bottles, which we'd take to the store for deposit money. As a teenager, when I came home from school for vacation, I followed my father around to learn about the business close up, dealing with contractors, or visiting buildings, or negotiating for a new site. You made it in my father's business, rent-controlled and rent-stabilized buildings, by being very tough and very relentless. To turn a profit, you had to keep your costs down, and my father was always very price conscious. He'd negotiate just as hard with a supplier of mops and floor wax as he would with the general contractor for the larger items on a project. One advantage my father had was that he knew what everything cost. No one could put anything over on him. If you know, for example, that a plumbing job is going to cost the contractor $400,000, then you know how far you can push the guy. Oh no, did I get something on my dress? I did. Oh dear, I didn't notice. You're not going to try to negotiate him down to 300,000 because that's just going to put him out of business. But you're not also going to let him talk you into $600,000. The other way my father got contractors to work for a good price was by selling them on his reliability. He'd offer a low price for a job, but then he'd say, look, with me you get paid, and you get paid on time, and with someone else, who knows if you're ever going to see your money. He'd also point out that with him, they'd get in and out quickly and on to the next job. And finally, because he was always building, he could hold out the promise of plenty of future work. His arguments were usually compelling. My father was also an unbelievably demanding taskmaster. Every morning at 6, he'd be there on site and he would just pound and pound and pound. He was almost a one-man show. If a guy wasn't doing his job the way my father thought it should be done, and I mean any job, because he could do them all, he'd jump in and take over. Whoa. Gregatron says he gets his work ethic from his dad. Yeah, my dad drilled a pretty strong work ethic into me early on, which I'm very grateful for. My mother has a pretty strong one too, I would say, but my father was responsible for me developing that work ethic and getting me to work at a very young age. So I'm grateful for it. I know I knew a lot of people who were, of the same generation of me, like classmates and whatnot, who really had trouble entering the workforce, and to this day, have not been able to really have the independence, just because they, never developed a strong work ethic at an early age. I think it's really important to drill into kids that, you need to get up at a certain time, you need to do your tasks, to this day. Oh man, I know plenty of them who never could be competent workers. Let's continue. Man, that's really intense though. The fact that he could do all the jobs and that he'd just jump in if somebody wasn't doing the way he wanted it. That had to be very humbling for people working on his sites. But also, it would earn you a lot of respect too, I think. It was always amusing to watch a certain scenario repeat itself. My father would start a building in, say, Flatbush, at the same time that 2 competitors began putting up their own buildings nearby. Invariably, my father would finish his building 3 or 4 months before his competitors did. His building would also always be a little better looking than the other 2, with a nicer, more spacious lobby and larger rooms than the apartments themselves. He'd rent them out quickly at a time when it wasn't so easy to rent. Eventually, one or both of his competitors would go bankrupt before they'd finish their buildings, and my father would step in and buy them out. I saw this happen over and over. In 1949, when I was just 3 years old, my father began building Shore Haven Apartments, the first of several large apartment complexes that eventually made him one of the biggest landlords in New York's outer boroughs. Because he built the project so efficiently, my father did exceptionally well with them. At the time, the government was still in the business of financing lower and middle income housing. To build Shore Haven, for example, my father got a loan of $10.3 million from the Federal Housing Administration. Oh, shout out. Somebody sent me a Cash App. My phone just went off. Is that you, Fred? Thanks for the Cash App. Thank you. I'm reminding you of PJ Harvey. To Bring You My Love. Actually, that's the only album by her I really like. I think I've lain with the devil, cursed God above, forsaken heaven to bring you my love. Oh, yeah. Well, thank you, Fred. Thank you. It's very considerate. Cash App, hey. Shout out to Latina and Callie who had me get on Cash App. It's another way to support your favorite channel, Terri Strange. When you in the mob, do your job. Indeed. No thanks to that love. You don't have love. Oof. Well, I didn't write the song, okay? It was PJ Harvey. It's a cool album, though. I'm not the biggest fan of hers, but I do like some of her songs. And I do think that album's pretty interesting. I like the cover of it, and yeah, she does look pretty cool. She's a very beautiful woman, like very, very interesting looking. She knows how to work with what she's got anyway, you know. And that's all a woman can do, really. Okay, let's continue. The loan was based on what the agency projected as a fair and reasonable cost for the project, including a builder's profit of 7.5%. By pushing his contractors very hard and negotiating hard with his suppliers, my father was able to bring the project in ahead of schedule and almost $1 million under budget. The term windfall profits was actually coined to describe what my father and some others managed to earn through hard work and competence. Eventually, such profits were disallowed. In the meantime, however, my father put up thousands of good quality, lower and middle income apartments of the sort that no one is building today because it's not profitable and the government subsidies have been eliminated. To this day, the Trump buildings in Queens and Brooklyn are considered among the best reasonably priced places to live in New York. After I graduated from New York Military Academy in 1964, I flirted briefly with the idea of attending film school at the University of Southern California. I was attracted to the glamour of the movies, and I admired guys like Sam Goldwyn, Daryl Zanuck, and most of all, Louis B. Mayer, who I considered great showmen. But in the end, I decided real estate was a much better business. Are you saying Trump's dad employed a lot of blacks? Hey, that's great. And it goes to show, you know, black people can be just as competent as whites. They're, you know. I began by attending Fordham University in the Bronx, mostly because I wanted to be close to home. I got along very well with the Jesuits who ran the school, but after 2 years, I decided that as long as I had to be in college, I might as well test myself against the best. I applied to the Wharton School of Finance at the University of Pennsylvania, and I got in. At the time, if you were going to make a career in business, Wharton was the place to go. Harvard Business School may produce a lot of CEOs, guys who manage public companies, but the real entrepreneurs all seem to go to Wharton. Saul Steinberg, Leonard Lauder, Ron Perelman, the list goes on and on. Perhaps the most important thing I learned at Wharton was not to be overly impressed by academic credentials. It didn't take me long to realize that there was nothing particularly awesome or exceptional about my classmates, and that I could compete with them just fine. The other important thing I got from Wharton was a Wharton degree. In my opinion, that degree doesn't prove very much, but a lot of people I do business with take it very seriously, and it's considered very prestigious. So, all things considered, I'm glad I went to Wharton. Oh man, I'm gonna stay out of chat. I think I made a statement maybe I shouldn't have said. I was also very glad to get finished. I immediately moved back home and went to work full time with my father. I continued to learn a lot, but it was during this period that I began to think about alternatives. For starters, my father's scene was a little rough for my tastes, and by that I mean physically rough. I remember, for example, going around with the men we called rent collectors. To do this job, you had to be physically imposing, because when it came to collecting rent from people who didn't want to pay, size mattered a lot more than brains. Oh my. One of the first tricks I learned was that you never stand in front of someone's door when you knock. Instead, you stand by the wall and reach over to knock. The first time a collector explained that to me, I couldn't imagine what he was talking about. What's the point? I said. He looked at me like I was crazy. The point is, he said, that it is the point, he said, is that if you stand to the side, the only thing exposed to danger is your hand. I wasn't sure what he meant. In this business, he said, if you knock on the wrong apartment at the wrong time, you're liable to get shot. My father had never sheltered me, but even so, this was not a world I found very attractive. I just graduated from Wharton, and suddenly here I was in a scene that was violent at worst and unpleasant at best. For example, there were tenants who'd throw their garbage out the window because it was easier than putting it in the incinerator. Oh, Lord. At one point, I instituted a program to teach people about using the incinerators. The vast majority of tenants were just fine, but the bad element required attention, and to me, it just wasn't worth it. The second thing I didn't find appealing was that the profit margins were so low. You had no choice but to pinch pennies, and there was no room for any luxuries. Design was beside the point because every building had to be pretty much the same. 4 walls, common brick facades, and straight up. You used red brick, not necessarily because you liked it, but because it was a brick cheaper than tan brick. I still remember a time when my father visited the Trump Tower site midway through construction. Our facade was a glass curtain wall, which is far more expensive than brick. In addition, we were using the most expensive glass you can buy, bronze solar. My father took one look and he said to me, "Why don't you forget about the damn glass? Give them 4 or 5 stories of it and then use common brick for the rest. Nobody is going to look up anyway." I look up at buildings. I don't know. I very much, God. It was classic Fred Trump standing there on 57th Street and 5th Avenue trying to save a few bucks. I was touched, and of course I understood where he was coming from, but also exactly why I decided to leave. The real reason I wanted out of my father's business more important than the fact that it was physically rough and financially tough, was that I had loftier dreams and visions, and there was no way to implement them building housing in the outer boroughs. Looking back, I realize now that I got some of my sense of showmanship from my mother. She always had a flair for the dramatic and the grand. She was a very traditional housewife, but she also had a sense of the world beyond her. I still remember my mother, who is Scottish by birth, sitting in front of the television set to watch Queen Elizabeth's coronation and not budging for an entire day. She was just enthralled by the pomp and circumstance, the whole idea of royalty and glamour. I also remember from my father that day, pacing around impatiently. "For Christ's sake, Mary," he'd say, "enough is enough. Turn it off. They're all a bunch of con artists." My mother didn't even look up. They were total opposites in that sense. My mother loved splendor and magnificence, while my father, who is very down to earth, gets only excited by competence and efficiency. What a pair. No wonder their son is the way he is. What president do I think was the most handsome? Do you mean in my lifetime? What president was the most handsome, or just like of all time? Chat is going off. I'm going to try to catch up with y'all. I guess I didn't miss much. Who is Teddy from Oregon? Gotta be Teddy. Are you talking about Theodore Roosevelt? I don't think he was the most handsome, although I do miss our statue of him. It was cool. I don't know. Most handsome president. That's tough. There are not a lot of handsome presidents, honestly. There's really not. Where is the statue? I don't know. I mean, it got damaged when it was torn down by I think it was the land back people. I mean, yeah, JFK, I don't know, but he's not really I mean, he was okay looking. I don't know about handsome. I mean, I guess he's handsome. I'm not attracted to him in any sense. Like, I wouldn't take a second look at him. I can't really think of anyone, honestly. I don't know. It's tough, you guys. It's tough. Obama wins the beauty contest. I mean, I guess for my lifetime, yeah, he would be the most good looking, but I don't know. I don't like him. You know, he's not likable. So that makes his, you know, damn, Terry, you're crazy picky. I don't know that I'm not, I mean, obviously, obviously I'm picky. I just am not, I mean, I don't, if I like someone, if I find someone attractive, it's not like, if I like, you know, if I'm attracted to someone, that's not a common experience for me. You know, it's kind of like unordinary. It's not like I can notice people are good looking, but like for me to be, attracted to them. Yeah, I don't know. It's different. Jeez. Who is the most handsome civil rights leader? I mean, I don't know about civil rights leader. I mean, if you want to get down, like, if you're talking about, like, it's broad, I guess, but I would probably say Huey Newton of, like, the Black Panther Party was the most handsome. I'm very female coded. What does female coded mean? What does female coded mean? Not Medgar Evers. I answered. No, I don't like Barack Obama. Gregatron. I'm a feminine woman. It is what it is. We're still out here, y'all, suffering. I don't even know what female coded means. Yeah, he's from the Black Panthers. Huey P. Newton. He's fine as hell. I mean, what other civil, like, I don't know that he's a civil rights leader, but so much as a, like, radical revolutionary. But I mean, who else would I pick? You want to see Huey Newton? You know what Huey Newton looks like. Come on. I mean, you're asking who's the best looking, so I answered. There, Huey P. Newton. Images. We're on Google. All right, hold up, y'all. Let me get this shared. Huey Newton in the news. All right. How are we looking here? Put me in the corner here. Here he is, Huey Newton. Flavor of gum is Orbit Sweet Mint. Orbit Sweet Mint. He got a little cracked out and his eyes got crazy, but you know. Nice mugshot. No, nice mugshot. Oh, there he is in a suit. I haven't read any of his books. That might be interesting to read one of his books. Maybe do that on here. There's a nice photo of him. Well, I think that's enough of him. Don't want to get too distracted, but yeah. That's fair too, Frederick. Yeah, it's best not to get one's hopes up. Yeah, he looks like Zenny. Oh, Zenny. Now you know what you can be for Halloween. I mean, you asked, Yoda, you're such a prick. You know that? You're like, Who was the best looking civil rights leader? And then he goes and says this nonsense. Dirt dolphinry. You mugs will bang anything. Like, I didn't say I wanted to bang him. You asked me who I thought the best looking civil rights leader was. I answered you. I didn't say I wanted to bang him. You're such a prick. Such a dirty dog. Ray Chancine said he's going to be a Black Panther. Yeah, be a Black Panther for Halloween. You're going to be Ray Gun? Oh, okay. Well, that's funny too. Yoda's like... Who's the most handsome Civil War icon? I don't know, y'all. Come on. We're getting distracted from the book. Yoda was just searching for my type in passive ways instead of just... I don't have a type. Every crush I've ever had, I don't know. Maybe I have a type to a certain degree, but like every crush I've ever had, though, like I have a pretty diverse, I would say, like, it's not really about what the person looks like for me. It's a whole package kind of deal. You know what I mean? Who's the most handsome Bond member? I mean, I haven't seen all the Bond members, like members of Bond. Are you asking about like the best looking Russian? I mean, a lot of Russians are good looking. That's tough. Bill's not bad looking. I think Bill's a good looking guy. I mean, most of the guys are good looking. Joel's good looking. Nick's good looking. Bill's good looking. Even Derek's a good looking young man. But we all know who my favorite is. So let's not get on that topic tonight. You all know. You don't know. You don't need to ask. Y'all know how I feel. I don't hold back. I'd really rather not get on it. It's kind of embarrassing. Don't call me a simp, Irish Repub. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, well, I like nerds, Yoda. Oh, baby, you're digging your claws in too deep. What are you doing? Are you chirping at me, you little chirp? You trying to mess up mama's tights? You little bad boy, what you doing? You think so, Yoda? You think he would if he was a little bit bad? Too bad he's a good boy. Who's the most handsome superhero? Guys, come on. It's obviously Batman. Wow, that's rude. You're knocking over my can. There's a little bit left in there, you mean cat. Why are you picking on me, you bad boy? Oh my gosh. You know you're the most handsome. You know I don't love anyone. You know you're my main squeeze. Stop it. Stop it. You know you're the one. Stop it. I swear to God, this guy right here, he's jealous as a mug. You jealous. You jealous. What are you being jealous for? There's no need to be jealous. Hey, oh, you got something in your eye. Yuck. I don't want you walking around here with crusties in your eye. You claiming me? You claiming your mama? He's like, what you talking about all these other guys for? I'm your only guy. Is that right? Oh, baby. Oh, baby kitty. So good kitty. So good kitty. All right, we have a cat break here, guys. He needs some attention. So go ahead and ask your silly little questions. We're having a little intermission. What else was I being asked? Superhero. You can shed all over me. That's right. And my bed and my couch and all my furniture. Yeah. And all the weird little spots you find to nest, all your little hidden spots too. Which of the Fellowship of the Ring would you serve? I don't know. What do you mean, serve? Like as a servant? Like who would I want to work for? The strange sign does light up, but I've lost one of the plugs to it. Which is the most handsome? I always had a big crush when I was a teenager on Dominique Monaghan. And what he played Pippin, right? I think he played Pippin. I did find the like connective piece, but I can't find the other piece. So, I mean, we're getting closer to getting it lit up, but we're not there yet. Oh man, that's so bad. Yoda, it's Dylan Burns. The answer to that would be Dylan Burns. He's the best looking. He looks like he bathes regularly, you know? You know, he has that kind of like I shower, you know, maybe at least 3 times a week look. He also has healthy skin and hair. All right, what? Come on, I want Gregatron's question. Buy a replacement online? I'm not buying a replacement online when it's somewhere in my house. He looks like a troon. Okay, but you asked who. Okay, well, you said handsome, but I mean, none of them are handsome. He's the most physically non-repulsive. All right, that's the answer. None of them are handsome. He's the most physically non-repulsive. If we lived in a world where people could get cybernetic enhancements, would you get them? No. I mean, we do live in a world where people can get cybernetic enhancements to a degree. Yeah, no, I'm not. No, that's weird. I don't want any of that. Have you seen Cyberpunk? No. Most handsome royal? I'm thinking about it. The most handsome royal. I don't know. I've always loved Prince Charles, now King Charles. I thought he was good looking in his youth quite a bit. But also, I think, what's his name? I think his brother Edward. Is that his name? Let me be sure. Let me look him up and be sure. Although I don't know, he aged very badly. It's tough. Yeah. I'll probably have to just say Charles. Another question. Are you voting for Trump? Yes, I will be voting for Donald Trump in this election. Do I like anime? I'm not like a fan of anime. There's been animes that I do like. So, I mean, I wouldn't say I don't like anime as a rule, but I'm not like a big fan. I'm not into it. You know what I mean? Oh, baby, I'm sorry. Do you have a little sneeze? Did you have a little sneeze, my little one? You're so cute. It's not fair. You're laying kind of funnily. You can't be comfortable like that, can you? Stop it, you Bubba G. Stop it. What you doing? Oh my god. You gonna get mad at me and jump off of me in a minute? You're so cute. You're so cute. I mean, you're the one who decided to lay down when I'd have my legs crossed. My lap isn't even inviting and comfy. You're the one who just decided you were going to flop down on me, like, regardless of whether I was ready for it. Hi, baby. You're so cute. I love you. Mommy back. You do. You're so loyal to me. And you go after me and love me. Am I so lucky? I'm so lucky, guys. Such a sweet cat. You stop it. You stop it. Stop it with them claws, my love. Are you comfy? You don't seem comfy. You don't seem very comfy. You're like having to brace yourself. Sweetie, why don't you lay a little bit differently? Have I tried CBD bath bombs? I've tried like a THC bath bomb, not a CBD bath bomb, and that was nice. It did relieve my pain for a bit, but baby, come on, get off of me. Okay, no, you're digging your claws in. Now I want you off of me, sweetheart. I'm sorry, I need to walk in that. Unless you want to lay down better. You gonna lay down better? No, stop. Get off of me now. Thank you. All right. I mean, it's through your skin. You don't get high from it. It goes and Well, actually, it wasn't a bath bomb. I'm wrong. It was like bath salts that you put in the bath. You can get them to soak in the tub, and they do work nicely, but I mean, it's only for a brief time, So I'm not, and they're kind of like, yeah, they're kind of like a treat, I guess. So they'll relieve your pain a bit, but I've never had any luck with CBD doing any pain relief for me at all. So, I mean, if you want to promote that, that's fine, but I've never had any luck from using CBD products to relieve any pain. So, if when I was like using cannabis for pain relief, I had to have THC in it. It was the only thing that worked. If it didn't have THC, it wasn't going to do anything. There's something about the THC that just works on whatever pain receptors. But for me anyway, like, it wasn't even really about pain relief. It was just about, getting my body to move. But yeah, I've used like a balm that, a cannabis balm that has THC in it, and that worked too. Yeah, that works really well. I tried, I remember the first time I had a coworker, I had some pain flare up really badly, and she let me use her like THC balm stick, and I rubbed it on the area and it like went away immediately. It was like wild. Would I try peyote if supervised? No. No, I would not. There you go, Terry. You want me to mail you a bag? A bag of what, Fred? Hmm. I think we should talk about that privately. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not big on, I've done my little bit of experimentation and I'm good. I don't want to do anything else, honestly. I have no desire to do any drugs, try any drugs or, like people talk about like tripping as if it's some kind of mystical experience, and it's just, nah, it's not appealing to me. Would I visit Mars? Hell no. No. Nope. No. It's not great to experiment. I mean, yeah, it's not really. I don't regret anything because I never went off the deep end with it, but I also like, I a lot of people do, and now microdosing is such a common practice. Like, I know so many people who are like tripping daily. They're taking like mushrooms daily. They're taking like all kinds of, it's like it's not good for you to be in that state. You're treating it like it's some kind of, you're treating this thing that's like should be a rare occurrence anyway, like as some kind of like medicine or something. And then I know people who've done like ayahuasca and things, and they've done like, I know people who've done like 7+ ceremonies of ayahuasca, and I'm like, why are you doing this? You know what I mean? I understand maybe trying it once because you're like so enthralled at the mysticism of it, and you think it's going to be this like life transformative experience. But like, doesn't it get kind of dull by the seventh time? Like, what are you getting out of it? Like, at that point, it just seems recreational to me. Gregatron has another question. This is exciting. Well, ask your question and I'll get back to reading. I think I'll read another section and then probably wrap up for the evening. But yeah. Yeah, that's another thing. If you had a choice, would you A, freeze yourself for 100 years or clone yourself? That is insane. I wouldn't want to do either. I don't want to do either. Can I say no to either? I don't want to be frozen for 100 years or cloned. If I had to pick one, maybe I'd clone myself, I guess, over being frozen for 100 years. Have another like bad babe out there. know, it just seems unpleasant. They talk about like puking and writhing on the floor and hallucinating, and like all these other people are doing it too. It seems awful. And do I really need to do that to reach some kind of enlightenment or to like deal with my issues? I really don't think I need to. And then, yes, Stacy brought up ketamine. They're doing ketamine therapy now. Like, ain't no way in hell. I've seen Party Monster. I know what happens to people who take ketamine. I'm not even like interested in any of this stuff. But anyway, interesting topics, you know. Do I leave the house every day even though I work from home? No, not every day. Not every day. Most days I leave the house. Most days, but there's some work days where I don't, you know. I'll, have no reason to really leave in the morning. Or the weather might be bad or whatever. I don't want to go out, and then like later on I might be too tired or just have other plans that are inside. So no, I don't always leave the house or the apartment. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes I may like leave my apartment, but like go somewhere else in the building. That's interesting, Bubblelandia. Shout out to Bubblelandia. Says Aldous Huxley claimed to have experienced a whole lifetime with the family during his masculine experience. Yeah, I've heard something similar recently where someone said they had like an experience where they were in some other dimension for 7 years living their life, and then they suddenly like found themselves here, and it was like no time had passed or something like that. That sounds freaky. Man, so there's somebody has a vicious dog on my floor apparently. I heard it growling this morning, and now I just heard it growling again. Yeah, interesting bending time. It reminded me of like the Chronicles of Narnia, how when the kids go to Narnia to be with Aslan, like they go on these massive adventures, maybe decades past even, in the case of like Lucy and Edmund and Elizabeth and Peter, or sorry, not Elizabeth, Susan and Peter. Like they were gone forever, and then they come back and it's like no time has passed. Keep toucans away from that door. I do my best, but sometimes he wants to go out there. I took the trash out earlier, and then I came back. Actually, no, it wasn't when I took the trash out. It was when I went to get coffee. I went to go get a coffee earlier today, and I came back, and he was at the door trying to get out. It's like, hell no. I do my best. All right, well, let's read a little bit more. I do my best, Yoda. Trust and believe, though, that if he ran out and a dog was out there, he'd run right back in. Okay. You know what? Actually, we're at chapter 4. I think I'll stop there because it's 8:30, and I want to get ready for bed. I want to go to bed at a decent time because I got to go back to work tomorrow. My little staycation is over. And then I have to figure out when I go back, taking off the rest of my PTO, I'm probably going to have to do some kind of like crazy PTO thing because I no doubt have a lot still left, and only so much year left, only a couple months. Last year I ended up taking like every Tuesday off for the rest of the year, which was pretty fun, honestly. But everyone's quoting the who was it that said that line? Was it T that did the "you Tom like a mug"? You miss working, but you ain't never getting that job. Well, it's highly unlikely that anywhere is going to expect you to get that job. Like, honestly. We're in the current year now. Like, it's not really an expectation of most jobs. And honestly, like, you know, I don't think you should fear it, or I don't really think you should have any like thought about it one way or the other. Like, I know people who are so afraid of it. Like, I was having a conversation with a friend about it, and we were talking about a mutual friend who's wanting to have kids. And she was like, "Oh, did she take the vaccine?" And I was like, "No, I don't think so." And she's like, "Good." And I was like, "Or what does that matter?" She's like, "Oh, well, she'll still be fertile then, or she's still fertile then." And I was like, "The vaccine doesn't take away your fertility." Like, where are you getting this from? Who's the most handsome caller? By their voice and words and eloquence. Well, I know that it doesn't because I've known multiple women who've been vaccinated, or I'm sorry, been action jacksinated that have gotten pregnant. I've got multiple coworkers who took it that have gotten pregnant, so hasn't affected their fertility at all. I'm not promoting it in any sense. I don't think you should get it, like, but I also don't think you should be like afraid of it as like it's gonna like ruin your life or something. People get a little bit like too conspiratorial about it, and it's like RFK Jr. Action Jacksinated. Did you get Jacksinated? Oh man, they're going off about it in the chat. It's getting wild in here. Yeah, I don't think it's expected at all now. Most businesses aren't. You know, even my workplace, they were expecting us to do it, but there was such a backlash against it. They realized they couldn't like enforce that even if they wanted to. Who is the most handsome caller just by their words and voice and stuff? I don't know. That's tough. I don't know. Serge has a nice voice. I'll say that. Serge has a like, you know, masculine voice, but sometimes his calls are crazy. So I don't know. And then it like, I don't know. Donning Armor is probably handsome, but he has sociopath vibes to me. So it's like I get the impression he's like really good looking, but also like totally like Psycho. Yeah, well, it's difficult because I know what a lot of these guys look like. I know what Zenny looks like, and he's a good-looking guy. Is there any woman you would ever be willing to date? Probably not. You Scorpios are like that. Who's a Scorpio? Are there any Scorpios in chat? I'm not a Scorpio. I hope you're not implying I'm a Scorpio because I'm not. I do have some prominent Scorpio placements, but definitely not a Scorpio. Do I give you water sign vibes, really? I mean, come on. A lot of Scorpios are lesbians. There's nothing bad about Scorpios. I love Scorpios. I get along well with Scorpios. They're one of my favorite signs. But I'm not one. I don't like people assuming that I am one, you know? So I was like worried I was getting, you know, typecast because of like the way I look or something. Or the way I talk. I think a wealthy woman could sweep Terry away. I really don't. I'm a Christian now. So I don't ever want to engage in that kind of relationship again. And it's not even about that as well. I can't do it. I don't have it in me. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right. I hella don't think it's right for me. And you know, I don't want to go, but I've already gotten out of that. Like, why would I want to go back into that? You know what I mean? And what of it? Like, I've already like also had a total like severance from that community. Like, I mean, I don't want to say total severance. I still have friends who are in that community and whatnot. I love them. I don't judge them at all. But like, I don't want to be in that life anymore. Being in that world was really horrible. Like, even like, oh, a wealthy woman sweeping me away. Like, there's more to life than money. I'm not like I don't know like what people think about me. People think I'm some kind of gold digger or something. It's really weird. Just because I have like, I don't know, certain standards that are really basic and really don't require like massive amounts of wealth. I know a couple that are two Scorpios, a husband and wife, and they're a pretty good couple. I like them both a lot. They're both really cool people. But yeah, it does seem like an intense household. But it also seems like a great household. I wish you wouldn't talk about Bev like that, Yoda. I really don't appreciate it. I've asked you to stop repeatedly. I think being a socialite would be awesome, Stacy. I'm cut out to be a socialite. I already kind of am, honestly, like in a small way. I definitely I'm I'm definitely of that ilk, but I don't, to me, I'm looking more for a person of value and character, more than some kind of like, it goes beyond the material. You know what I mean? Like it goes beyond like the material, what they can provide or something like that. It's about the character. Like I am out for gold. I definitely am a gold digger in the sense that I only want gold. I only want a person with a heart of gold. You know, I have that, and that's what I want. So, you know, we'll see what happens. Y'all just have beta guys in Portland, eh? Well, I don't know. Definitely better pickings than Florida. Hello, Gray. Gray said, "Girl, what is this?" and is crying. Don't cry, Gray. Gray just shows up and is crying. Dang. Don't cry, Gray. It's okay. Z gets it. Z understands me. It's not your own. What are you even talking about? It's your only example. You're picking on someone who's been a friend to me and also has been on my channel, and you're implying nasty things about her with your dirty emojis and stuff, and I don't like it. I find it like really rude. Bubblelandia says socializing as someone else's accessory doesn't sound very fun. Being a socialite within your own interests is an experience of freedom. Well, I mean, I already have that going on for myself, but yeah, I do find that I've had that difficulty because I have had like, I've dated like guys or that have like, yeah, wanted to kind of use me to show off or something. And I understand, I mean, men do that with women, period. And I'm not against that per se, but like, it is kind of difficult when like you don't even, you're just getting to know them. And it's that kind of situation, like I want to make my partner look good. I said partner, but you know what I mean? Like when I go out, you know, thanks, Mana. That's nice. Mana's nice, isn't she? Mana is so nice. I mean, I did have one 20 years ago. Wait, did I have one 20 years ago? No, I didn't really. I did have a boyfriend when I was 18. He was horrible. He broke my heart. Took me, I don't know. I was wrecked by that. That was awful. I'm so glad I didn't end up with him, though. God, he sucked. Like when I look back at it, I'm like, God, thank God that didn't work out. I don't know, man. Do you really think that if my only chance to get married was when I was 18? It's interesting. Maybe I should stop dating. But you're the one who was in my chat like weeks ago telling me that I should just, marry the next guy that comes along. So I don't know. Either I do have options or I don't. I don't know. I don't know. This chat is getting weird. Z says, if a guy wants you for your body, that's a compliment. Lust from a man is not a compliment. It literally takes nothing to like evoke lust in a man. It's not a compliment. Are you serious? Yeah, you're way too fussy, must have always been. It's so interesting that you think that. Like, I've not even really had that much, like, I've not really had many viable suitors at all in my life. At all. Like, I don't know what kind of reality you lived in, but I think just the way you've experienced life and the way I've experienced it just have not been the same. Like, it's strange, you know. I don't know why like I'm too fussy because, you know, I just have certain like I don't know why I'm even arguing with you. You're like not even I don't know. It's ridiculous. Yeah, indeed. That's right, Golden Rules TV. That's a nice comment. You'd have to pray for him, you know, because definitely he'd have to not, you know, mess with me. I don't get flattered to be looked at. I mean, yeah, it's flattering to be looked at, but I'm looked at every day. I get looked at every time I leave the house. I get looked at when I'm like on the internet. Like I don't even have to leave the house to get looked at. I get looked at. Regatron, you gonna let me keep Nero? Oh, yeah, that's nice. I can't believe these dudes that come on here and are like, oh, like, would you get rid of your cat? Like, next? Bye. What kind of weird ass man is jealous of a cat? It's so sick. And what? We're not going to have cats in the house? I can't deal with that. It's insane. Everyone gets looked at. Yeah, but I get looked at more. There are people that are just looked at because you pass them by, and there's people that like you turn your head to look at. I'm somebody that people turn their head to look at me now. So yeah, a little bit different. Yeah, this gum did last a long time. Somebody mentioned it, but yeah, this gum is legit. It's still a little minty after all this time. Trying to not be so cute then, Terry. What you mean? Am I though? Yeah, I am. And I get hit on most of the time when I leave the house. Cat called, bothered. What if my kids were allergic to cats? I'm not putting up with that shit. Pardon my language, but we're not having that in my house. We're not having allergies with my kids. They're going to learn not to have allergies. Closed mouths don't get fed. That's right, Frederick. Exactly, Bubblelandia. Exactly. Thanks for defending me, Frederick. Mina's being nasty. Like, are you though? This is again, just because somebody lusts after you or hits on you or wants to sleep with you does not mean that they're a viable candidate for being your husband. You know what I mean? Like, I live in the real world, you know, where there's a bit more to it than that. And yeah, Portland is a tough place, you know, because once people find out, you know, about my problematic beliefs, you know, that can be off-putting, you know. But whatever, it's not a big deal. Again, stretching. Yeah, no, my kids aren't going to be allergic to cats. They're not going to be allergic to dairy. They're not going to be allergic to trees or anything. That's not happening in my house. My kids will be exposed and they're going to learn to overcome that nonsense. I have no sick kids. Good God. Well, yeah, Fred, it's so amazing. You're still catching up on my karaoke. See, that's one thing. I cannot sing, but I can rap. I cannot sing, but I can rap, apparently. A bit. Man. I won't be posting any more vids. There's more, but I won't be posting anymore. I think the songs we posted. Where did I go for the karaoke? There's a place in town called Punch Bowl Social where they have private like booths you can rent by the hour. So you can bring you and your group of friends in there to do karaoke together. It was just me and my one friend, but probably do it again for my birthday. I think that'd be kind of fun. Well, you and they have like a bowling alley there and like a full restaurant and bar, and they have an arcade and like other games and darts, and they even have like I think pickleball and stuff like that. So I think yeah, it might be fun to go back there and do something for my birthday because I didn't really do a birthday party this year. So I think it might be a good idea to, and it's going to be my upcoming birthday is going to be my last one in my 30s. So I should celebrate, shouldn't I? Anyway, I need to get going. It's bedtime and the cat is ticked. Are you ticked? You ticked? You ticked at me? Are you ticked? You ticked? You want to say something? You do-do-do? You do-do-do? You do-do? You're going to say something? I'm trying to get him to say something. You gonna say something, baby boy? You gonna say something? Hey, 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 hey. Will you ticked? All right, I guess I don't get any more meows. Who's her? No, he screams when I get in bed, and he screams when I get into the shower, or if I'm running the laundry machine. like the washing machine, you know. Um, or he screams just because he's like, I probably don't want to get in all the reasons he screams, you know, but he has a lot of reasons for going off. So, and they're all valid. They're all valid. But yeah, guys, thanks for being here. We had fun tonight. Stacy's asking another question. Am I loyal to my shampoo brand? Um, am I loyal? I don't know really. No, I don't think so. I have found brands that I like that I'll use periodically, but I'm not like tied to them. I've been using, I think, Nexus lately, but then my friend gave me some shampoo and conditioner she bought that had like, I was talking to her about like the bottle and I thought it might be good to have one that pumps. So she gave me it and actually it's really nice. It was like some hemp brand. I don't really know the name of it, but um yeah, I like the Nexus one. Um oh, interesting. Yoda's asking me who would I marry out of Fred, Gregatron, or Zenny? See, that's tough. That's tough. I think Gregatron would probably make the best husband at this point in life. Like, he seems like he might be the most kind of like ready for that, although it would be awkward marrying younger for me. Um, See, there's like plus and minus to each guy, you know, that's tough. But I think maybe probably Gregatron. I don't know. I know, Stacy. Why doesn't Yoda? Because Yoda's, you know, we don't know anything really about him. No offense to either Fred or Zenny. I mean, you know, I would consider them both, you know, for I don't know, like for other reasons, I guess. Like each guy has their strengths and weaknesses. Like I don't know. I feel like Fred and I would get along well, but we don't have similar like values in some ways. Um, we have more like a decent friendship. I like that he'd be older than me. I like that, I think like too, we'd like to probably look good going out together because I feel like Fred wouldn't, know how to dress himself and like, we'd look good. I feel like with Zenny and Greg, I'd have to like really beg them to wear the appropriate clothing. And then Zenny, he'd be good in some ways because I feel like he has a lot of energy, you know? And man, Zenny's like, what, how old? Is Zenny even in his 30s yet? I don't know. Gregatron has a lot of like, I feel like he's like, he collects a lot of weird, nerdy stuff. And he'd probably be like, I don't know, maybe upset about having to like put that money into like our kids and like me instead of, his like anime and sword collection. And Zenny's good looking. He's cute, but I don't think he's old enough. And I don't know what he does for a living. I don't know. He's too much of a mystery. Why would it, what the heck, Z? Z. I don't appreciate that. Like, why would one man fly me out so I could meet another man? Does that make sense to you? Why would he fly me out so that I could meet another man? In what universe does that make sense to you? And in what universe am I the kind of chick that gets flown out? Also, I'm not the kind of chick that gets flued out. I'm like offended. You love me. You love me, but you don't respect me. God. Eh, like honestly, like if I do go visit Bond like for a service, it'll be my own doing. All right? I'm not having anybody else facilitate that for me. I'll be doing it myself for myself. Thank you. It's so weird because it's not just Z that suggested it. Z, I know who you are. I know who you are. It's like been multiple people now though that have made like that suggestion. And I also find it really disrespectful to Fred as well. Like, what do you think of Fred? That he's some kind of like, I don't even know, plug or something? Like, or like epic cuck. It's like so disrespectful. I have to calm down. Like, I'm offended on his behalf. I'm offended on my behalf. Indeed, I do not. Indeed, I do not, Yoda. But I do think he's a polygamist, and I'm not about that life. So, and with that, you know what? I think I've said enough. We've been through enough. I don't want to say anymore. Thanks, Stacy. See, even Stacy knows. Even Stacy knows. Well, yeah. Okay. Good night, guys. For real this time. Bye bye.